Hello everyone and welcome back to Breaking It Down with ALISHBA, where we take tricky math topics and break them down so that they are easier to understand. Today we're looking at changing the subject of a formula. Now you'll be needing to use this not just in algebra but in many other math topics in National 5 Maths. What is the subject of a formula? Well, the subject of a formula is the value that is on its own on one side of the formula, usually the left. However, it'll be the exact same thing if it's on the right. That doesn't actually matter. Now, I've put two examples on the board here. We have y equals mx plus c, which is the equation of a straight line. And in this example, y is the subject of the formula. And below we have x equals y minus c over m. And here we can see the same formula rearranged to make x the subject. All right, so do we see it is the isolated term that is our subject of the formula. Now, when we are rearranging a formula, we are going to be given an equation and we'll be asked to make a term the subject. Okay, now there's two very, very important rules that you must follow when you're changing the subject of the formula. Number one, when rearranging the equation, it is very important to remember that anything you do on one side, you have to do to the other, okay? That is rule number one that you cannot break. Second rule, but more kind of helpful hint, is that when you are rearranging, you're basically moving terms and numbers from one side to the other side of your equation. And to do this, you're gonna do the opposite function that it is from its original side, okay? Now I'm gonna show you this in an example. So let's say we have the equation x equals a squared minus 3 over 4. We want to rearrange the formula to make a the subject. The first thing I'm going to do is multiply both sides by 4. Now what this will do is get rid of my fraction on the right side because 4 is our denominator, so multiplying would be the opposite function of what it is, okay? So when I multiply both sides by 4, I'll be left with 4x equals a squared minus 3. Now I'm going to add 3 to both sides. Again, we can see in my original equation it says a squared minus 3. So to get rid of it, I need to add 3 to cancel it out. So now my equation looks a bit like this. We have 4x plus 3 equals a squared. But this is not our final answer because we want a on its own, okay? So we need to isolate the a. And to do that, we are going to square root both sides, which will leave my answer to a equals the square root of 4x plus 3. And it's really that simple, guys. You'll find in a lot of math questions, especially in the exam, this kind of thing, changing the subject of the formula, will be the first step of a much bigger maths problem. Okay, now it's your turn. I want you to take a look at these two questions and try them yourself. Pause the video and give them a go, and then we'll go through them together. Great, did you give them a go? Let's try them together. So my first equation is q equals p squared plus 3t, and I want to change the subject to t. So we need to get t by itself on one side of the equation. To do this, the first thing I'm going to do is subtract p squared from both sides, which will leave me with q minus p squared equals 3t. Now, to completely isolate t, I'm going to divide both sides by 3, all right, which will leave me with t equals q minus p squared over 3. Remember, throughout this, we just did the opposite function that we saw, all right, to cancel it out. All right, let's try the next one. So my given equation is d equals k minus m over t, and I wanted to change the subject to k. So this time, the first thing I want to do is get rid of that fraction. And to do this, I'm going to multiply both sides by t to cancel out the fraction, which will leave me with the equation of d times t equals k minus m. And the last thing that I'll need to do is just add m to both sides to isolate that k, which will leave me with my final equation of k equals dt plus m. And it's really that simple, guys. A very short video, but a very important one. Do let me know if you enjoyed this video in the comments below and what you'd like to see next. For now, happy learning, and I'll see you next time. Bye!